Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of Liberty Action Network TV. And we are at CPAC 2014. We are here with Levi.
Hello, Doreen.
And what brings you to CPAC today?
Well, I'm here right now with Turning Point USA, actually, to help promote them. But we came to CPAC to meet as many people as possible in the conservative movement because I think our country is definitely facing a crossroads, and we want to make sure that we're headed down the right path.
What college do you go to?
I attend Butler University in Indianapolis.
Okay, so you're here for the 3 days?
Yes, I've been here since yesterday, and I'll be here till Sunday morning.
Have you watched any of the speakers yet?
Yeah, I saw Senator Cruz actually.
Okay, and are you going to watch all the speakers, or?
We've got to work a fair amount. I'm going to try to make as many as I can. I'm definitely going to try to make Senator Paul's speech and Senator Lee as well.
And who's your favorite? You don't have any?
My favorite at CPAC currently, definitely Senator Rand Paul. I was a big fan of his father, and I worked with his campaign a lot. So, I'm hoping that he can continue some of that on.
So now, you're here obviously for a reason, and you obviously feel the need that you want to take back this country.
Yes.
What is your opinion with what's going on right now? Let's say Obama.
I think one thing that both the conservative and libertarian movement needs to focus on also is how we're going to brand ourselves, because I think President Obama, he's doing what he thinks is right, but I think what he's doing is wrong. He's very misguided. I think what we need to be doing is focusing on explaining that and not just attacking the president for being the president. I think that that's part of the reason that so many people in both the conservative and the liberty movement get a bad rap, is because there's a perceived intolerance towards the president when really we're just concerned about his policies, when even though he might be trying to do the best he can, he's simply not doing it.
Well, some of us don't happen to believe that he's doing the best that he can.
Well, obviously, I don't believe that he's making the best policy decisions, but I think he's doing what he thinks is the best, and I just disagree that that is correct.
So you think he's just misguided?
I think he's very misguided, yes.
How about the American public, then?
I think the American public needs to wake up. I think that there's an issue with that, and people. One thing that has been going on is I think people blame the free market system when government causes a lot of these problems. Government causes these banks to be regulated and for the collapse and stuff like that, and so people automatically blame the free market instead of looking at the root cause of government over-regulating the economy.
And so now let's go to your campus too for a minute. You are conservative.
Correct.
Okay. Are there a lot of conservatives on your campus?
I would say, surprisingly, Butler is a fairly conservative student-based campus. Yeah. Obviously, professors are not quite as conservative or libertarian as we like. There's a couple of real good ones, but as a whole, I would say the student body is fairly conservative.
Okay, so you're one of the few campuses where there's conservatives.
Yeah. Yes.
I see. You say that with a smile on your face.
No. I think there's definitely, and we've talked about this before, there's definitely an issue with, how liberal some of our professors can be. And some of them, like some of my favorite professors are very liberal, and they mean very well, and they're very, willing to listen to you. But there's others that I think, are not willing to, and they're simply telling people, college students what to believe, and they're not, doing their own research. And that's kind of what always been my opinion is, whatever your opinion is, have it for a reason. Don't have it because your parents told you. Don't have it because your professors told you. I know I agree, or I disagree with my family a lot on a lot of things.
Is your family conservative, or?
Very much so, yes. That's what I'm a little more libertarian leaning, but my family is definitely very conservative. I don't think my grandfather has ever done anything but mark the straight Republican ticket on any ballot ever. So, I definitely had some good influences there.
That's right, but too, you also have to remember that when you go to vote, some people may be appearing as conservative, but they're not really conservative.
Agreed, and that's another issue I think that some people have, is they believe that Republican and conservative are synonymous, and that's just simply not true. When you look at, I think we have people like, Senator Graham is a perfect example. I'm really happy that they're doing great work down in South Carolina to try to replace him with, either Miss Mace or Mr. Bright. So I'm really hoping that they can do stuff like that. There's definitely a misconception on what conservatives and Republicans really are.
Right, and the Democrats and the liberals often run candidates they pose as conservatives, and we put them in office unknowingly.
Exactly. I think that is one definitely one issue that I think happens in some states where, the primary is the general. Sometimes, you can run a wolf in sheep's clothing because they know that the Republican's going to win anyway. So I think that, conservatives and libertarians really need to make sure they vet their candidates very well.
Now, you're a college Republican.
Correct.
So what activities are you guys participating in this year?
Well, actually, on campus, unfortunately, our College Republicans chapter is it's very small, but I'm the president of our Young Americans for Liberty chapter, and we're very, we're actually expanding a lot because we're able to, since we're not technically a partisan organization, we are able to outreach to a lot of other people who then hear, message of conservatism, libertarianism, and realize that that's what they believe, that they were lifelong Democrats, but they're realizing that the best way to help the poor is, to get the government out of their lives, that sort of thing. So we've done events on why the presidency needs to be more humble and why, you can't simply change the law because you want, why Obamacare is hurting our young people, why, the minimum wage is going to hurt poor people. We're having a great event coming up on the war on youth coming from Washington because I don't think the politicians represent the youth at all. And part of that is our fault because they're so apathetic. We don't people don't vote until they get 30 or 40. And so, you're not going to have any representation of the youth.
Well, that's right. And when you think about the Tea Party, you look at their age, they're probably 50 and older, and you don't see not a lot of young Tea Parties, especially on the college campuses.
Yes, that's. I think that's one issue that I think that there was a lot of, and obviously the media has a big deal to do with that. I think that's one issue. There's a lot of branding issues with the Tea Party, and I think that they need to refocus themselves because the media has done very well, I think, at convincing young people that it's only 50, 60-year-old baby boomers that don't care about anyone but themselves. I think the media has been very effective at that, and so the Tea Party needs to refocus itself as somebody who's trying to help youth.
So if you were a Tea Party member or you had a Tea Party group and you saw all these elderly in there, you wanted to attract the youth, what might you do? Go ahead.
Geez, that's a tough question. I would definitely say you need to discuss how things affect youth. Like, that's one reason I'm so happy we have organizations like Young Americans for Liberty and Generation Opportunity, because we're starting to affect, or starting to talk about how these policies affect youth and not just old people, or older people, I should say. Because, Obamacare, that's simply generational theft. Because my generation, they were too apathetic to vote in the elections. They got burned with Obamacare. Now we're going to be stuck with the cost to pay for older people. So I think that we need to do a good way, or you need to outreach and explain why conservative policies are going to help younger people.
Yeah. So now what are your plans for the future?
My plans for the future. Well, at Butler, I study history and economics, so my plan is actually to be a policy analyst somewhere, either for a congressman or a senator, or maybe at a think tank or something like that. That would be my dream job, is to do that.
So you do plan on running for office?
That's a question I get a lot, actually. I think it takes a lot of good people and turns them into something they're not, so it's something I'm wary about, but I definitely want to have some sort of impact on the public policy of the United States, because that's what I believe it was Plato said. If you don't care about politics, you're going to be ruled by people who don't care about you.
Well, that's true. So now, so where do you go from here? You say you run for the Senate, and then.
Yeah, that's. I'm actually this summer I'll be interning with the Koch internship program, so I'm very excited about that. So I'm hoping to get some good opportunities out of that. I've got about a year and a half left of college, so I guess we'll kind of see where that takes me. And I'm hoping to end up at a think tank or maybe an advocacy group like GenOp or AFP, something like that, and really help people understand what these policies are doing to youth and older people as well.
Right, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And our program anytime, and thank you, folks.